I think we're live now. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of InnerStrength, Innercise Live. And those of you who watched last week's episode on Inspired to Thrive for the Mumpreneur Group will recognize we have the beautiful Pat Honiotes joining us back again tonight. So tonight, your time, lunchtime, our time. She's over in Los Angeles in the US. It's beautiful to be able to connect with people, you know, wherever we are in the world. We make technology work for us. So thank you, Pat, for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is fun.
That's right. So tonight, or today, we are going to talk about the subject. Hold it right there. And I'm sorry. Just let me turn that speaker off. Bear with me. I just want to turn that off. Otherwise, it's going to be beeping all the way through. I'll just do that quickly. Otherwise, it's going to annoy me. Perfect. Yeah. So I think that it's another great subject and a great topic for us to be digging into today, because especially for me in the lead up to Christmas and the festive season, you know, and I guess you guys over there, you know, with Thanksgiving, a lot of us get tied up, you know, in persuaded or giving into the wishes of others or demands of others even at times, you know, and we don't speak up or communicate, you know, what it is that often is really important for us, and you know, or even not what we want, or more importantly, what we don't want, you know. And I think that if that's resonating with you, if you're tuning in and listening, please, you know, tell us where you're tuning in from. And also, you know, comment and let us know if you resonate on some level with that, because I think if what Pat's going to talk about tonight with us, and hold it right there, which is around, you know, as you've read, boundaries and different things. It's really important topic, especially I think, well, at any point, but more so perhaps this time of year. I think it's really going to come at the right time for a lot of it, will help a lot of people. So I'm your host, Fiona Jean, Purposeful Warrior, and again, you know, my passion as always is to share experience and wisdom with others, and to bring other experts into the program as well, so they can share wisdom. We're going to poke the bear, speak our truth, tell it how it is. You know, you may not always agree with our perspective or our view, and that's absolutely wonderful, you know, and I encourage, you know, ask questions. Let's have the debates. Let's answer the tough questions, the things that often aren't asked. So we'd love you again to, you know, contribute and comment, let us know where you're coming from, and that, you know, any questions you have. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, and tag Pat or myself with your questions, and one of us will get back to you. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find the expert that does, and bring them on board. Because after all, there's no magic pill to this journey, you know, this journey of evolution and you know, looking, you know, within. There's no magic pill to it. We have to do the work. So, and I think it starts by having an awareness and opening ourselves up and being a little bit vulnerable, perhaps with our conscious cuppa, or, you know, whatever it happens to be for you, and just leaning in and asking the questions. So a little bit about Pat, for those of you who didn't watch the other show last week. So Pat is the no-nonsense mentor, and I just love that. And she's my first international guest here on InnerStrength, streaming live from Los Angeles in the US, and a remarkable woman, and such a beautiful character, you know, so full of life and fun. And I just love the way how she supports her clients to be the nucleus of their life. And I just love that caption, really, because that's what it's all about. And, you know, when they become the nucleus of their life, they get to experience that deep sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. And that in turn gives in itself, it allows them to be more of who they are, you know, from the inside out, but also to bring their work and their passion, whatever it happens to be, to life, you know, in this world. So welcome, Pat. Thank you for joining me. And let's just get into it. Hold it right there. You know, tell us a little bit more about that, and let's see where the conversation takes us.
We were looking for a title for a little book that I wrote. And by the way, every one of your people get a copy of that. All they have to do is follow a link later, but it's called Hold It Right There. And this Beautiful. Is actually like this on the front cover. And it's because we have our boundaries. We need to have enough is enough. This is what I'll allow in my life, and this is what I won't allow in my life. And most of the time when I'm working with my ladies, many of the issues come down to them not having boundaries or not honoring the boundaries that they've set. we have a lot of natural boundaries, all right? Things like you don't come into my home and kick my dog. I mean, everybody, all right? The only time it becomes a problem is when we start having feelings of being imposed upon. We find ourselves getting particularly pissy with somebody or upset with somebody, and we know that we're not speaking up. When we feel like we're being walked on, and that's when we have some formulas in that we can put it right in place. And here's the other thing, Fiona, is so many people think about, oh, I got to set a boundary, lay down the law, right?
Yeah.
And you have to come out with all this fire and brimstone, and you don't. It's not about that at all. The healthy way is just to catch it in the moment.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's true that there's so many different ways and means, for me, in setting boundaries, if you like, or sharing boundaries with us, it's about having that love, care, and respect for myself and the other person, because we all see things differently in this world. We're all unique individuals. I'm pleased there is another carbon copy of me. It's I want to be my own unique self, and I think it's beautiful when we all are. And we all have different wants, needs, and desires, so it's really important. So I love the way that you express that. Yeah,
it's I loved what you said. Our boundaries really say to the world out there what we think of ourselves. And it reinforces in ourselves what we think of ourselves. So let's go back to that old self-worth thing again, right?
And the sex and the money.
Yeah, well, there you go. We need a longer show, Fiona. That's all there is to it.
That's right.
But that's really bottom line. Those two things go hand in hand, right? We teach people how to treat us. And so if we've got self-respect, self-worth, setting a boundary is the natural consequence of that.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And it speaks volumes when we allow others to disrespect, or dishonor us.
I know when I share, with clients around boundaries, I use the garden as an analogy, and it'd be like sort of like a beautiful garden that it can be, but often when we start, it's been trashed. There's no fence. The fence has been, smashed down by other people just trampling all over it. There's weeds everywhere because you're not tending to things, and everyone it's like a free for all. But when you start to maintain the garden and you pull up the weeds and you put the fence around, you have a beautiful gate. And the gate is a two-way gate, so it means that I can stand in my garden, I can talk to you over the fence, but I can also choose to open the gate and to let you in.
Yes.
And you can choose when to open the gate and to go. So I think that I just love metaphors anyway, I think it really helps people to understand. Yeah, and
I'm probably gonna steal it, Fiona.
Please steal away. I've got a beautiful drawing that I've got. I'll post a picture up or send it to you as well, that I use to describe it when I'm teaching. But it's really, I find it quite powerful because everyone can relate to that. They can visualize, the weeds and everything. And then all we want is this beautiful garden with a white picket fence, a beautiful tree, and we can sit there tranquil, happy within ourselves, with our being. Have that love, care, and respect for us, and we've taken care of our garden, and we want people to take care of it as well. Otherwise they don't get in.
Absolutely. And when you first start doing that, the thing to remember is not everyone's going to like you tending to your garden. If people have been tramping through because the fence is down, they're not going to be happy when you put the fence back up.
That's right.
And so that's one thing that we have to be aware of, is that some people are not going to like this and be maybe really irritated by it.
So how would you deal with that, Pat? How would you help clients deal with those sorts of things? Because that's the reality of what happens. We upset people and they get nasty or aggressive, or they just disappear, and we think, well, what have we done? And then I think certainly when I started my journey, I was thinking, oh, okay, I've got to, I go back to that people pleasing. because I don't want to offend people, or and that's why that was my long journey, and I know it's the same with a lot. So I'm really interested on how your view on that as well.
The first thing that I let someone know, and this is usually they're really serious around, don't have any boundaries, period. And so we're starting at and the very first thing that I work with them on is, you are not responsible for how that person feels or responds to your boundary.
Yeah.
You cannot set a healthy boundary and take care of the other person's feelings at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, that's not saying, oh, to heck with them, I'll just tell them off. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, when you're setting a healthy boundary, one of the things that we have to unlearn is that we're responsible for them and their feelings. We're not.
No.
Okay. Another point that I make when I'm working with someone on boundaries is, maybe this person wasn't supposed to be inside the boundaries to begin with. Yeah. And so if they go away, you haven't really lost too much. Yeah, that's easy for me to say when it's not me setting the boundary and losing a friend or a client.
Yeah.
But it's also when you put it into practice and you really begin to see clearly, it makes it easier, because you go, no, they weren't right in the first place. Yeah. There's a little grid that we use. I don't have my paper up. I'm going to do it really briefly. Okay. On a sheet of paper. And it's not about categorizing people so much as, this is for you, not for them. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be funny. So just think of it as 4 boxes, right?
Yeah.
And it's for the people. It's how you really get honest with yourself. Okay. So just think of it like this. An artist I'm not, but that's okay. So in box number 1,
yeah,
list all of the friends or all of the people or all of the clients that are just fantastic. They bring you joy. They add to your life. You add to theirs.
Yes. Okay.
The second box are those that, yeah, they're not your bosom buddies. They're not, the people that bring you the most joy in your life, but they're friends. They're good friends. They're good people. Yeah. In the third box are the people that cause you stress a good portion of the time. And the people in the fourth box are those that are toxic, which means these people can actually be dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't, I show this to clients at times, and well, now I'm judging these people. No. You're not judging the person. What you're doing is getting honest with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you start working with a grid like this, especially if you've got some miseries going on, the first thing you do is disassociate yourself from the toxic people.
Yeah.
If you have someone in your group or in your clients that is always disrupting the group or stirring the pot, then I ask them to leave, because they become toxic to the group.
Yeah.
It's easier when it's like a friend or something, but when you start, family, good friends, that kind of thing. But if you can really picture that grid in your mind, it's about you getting honest with you. It's not about judging the other person. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think that's important, because a lot of people get stuck, in my experience as well, in that fear of judgment, and and everything that, and it stops them from actually doing the work or starting to do the work.
Yes.
And that's such a shame. So it is working with them, isn't it, and letting them understand that we are not responsible for other people's feelings. Like if I say something and you have an anger reaction, I didn't make you angry.
That's right.
You had a reaction or to perhaps what I said. So that's like a trigger. And for me, I welcome that. And when that happens to me, I welcome that, because I think, oh, that's interesting. I'd love to really understand why I had that reaction. What's going on inside me. So, because we're all mirrors for each other, really, aren't we? We're reflections.
But here's the other thing, Fiona. You've done a lot of work. Okay, you're in your nucleus. My sense is, I mean, we've never gone for coffee or anything, but my sense is, just being with you these last couple of times, is you're there a lot of the time, and you can go there. But for a lot of people, that's really hard to get to where you're at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
What you're saying makes no sense. And they go, but I'm supposed to like everybody. I'm supposed to, people please. We're actually taught that. And if somebody, and if I say something and it upsets you, then it's my fault. And so it really takes a lot of unlearning to get where you are.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. And that is a journey to, and I think that's why I like to work with small groups, at times, because we do something what we call mirroring.
Yes.
When we can hold space for each other, and when we can understand the process of mirroring, and it's not shame, it's just holding space for that person to be really vulnerable and just validating their true feeling in that moment. I call it's akin to reparenting. It's sort of, it's being there and saying the words that they didn't hear when they were younger. That they needed to hear, and then obviously form different beliefs and different experiences because of that because that wasn't there in their childhood or growing up.
You're really teaching them to nurture themselves.
That's right.
And that's something that a lot of people have missed out on. So if you're modeling that in a group, then they're more likely to be able to do it for themselves. Yeah, they are right. But that nurturing part has to be part of it.
That's right. Definitely.
That's cool.
So it's great, because what I find with the groups is that we start off where I'm the one doing the mirroring with them, and they're all watching, and then eventually after 2 or 3 weeks we pair them up, so then they mirror for each other. So they learn how to receive and how to give as well, which is a big thing. I think for not especially I'm generalizing, but predominantly for women. It's a big thing where we naturally nurtures, and we give and we self-sacrifice and people please. It's how we're brought up, that we have to do the caring and look after everybody. But we also have to look after us.
Well, it's like what I've said to you before. You can't give what you don't have.
Yes.
Okay, and so I can care for someone and give to them, but it's a facsimile of the real thing unless I can do that for myself. And that's so as we talked about before, it's about overcoming all that stuff we've been taught.
Yes.
That we're not a bad female if we don't take care of everyone. Well, we've talked about this before. Yeah. We're in so much agreement, sometimes it's scary. Right?
It is, that's right. It's like you're inside here.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So the boundaries thing is really important, even like in your work, even like with your staff and your clients. And in those situations, it can really have some effects that you don't want.
Yes.
And it's about stating a boundary immediately. And here's what I mean by that. When I used to have my, office in an office, like in the olden days when we did things like that. If someone is late, then you say the first time, Fiona, you need to be here at 8 o'clock, and this is your first warning.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, because then people know where they stand, right? And there's none of the, and the irritation. I know I worked with one guy who thought I was the office biatch because I would say that to people. This is your second time biatch, and the third time they were gone, right?
Yeah.
And so I was but what he would do, he just let it go and let it go and let it go. And then he would come in one day and it would be inconvenient for him and he'd blow his top.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so those boundaries just need to be set and honored immediately. And it's not like you give everybody you meet, a book of boundaries, right? No. But it's about calling on the first time. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think that's very important, because if not, we're like a pressure cooker that's just ticking away, and all of a sudden it's just going. And I've done that myself, over the years. I've blown up because I haven't spoken my truth, or I haven't expressed what I needed in that moment, and then the frustration builds. Or I would have expectations of an ex-partner, for example, to do things, and and it still wouldn't be done. And we talk about it and he promised and it still wouldn't be done. And I would just let it fester and fester till one day, that's it, just blows up. And, you know, the relationship ends and they were left wondering what happened. You know, because often that's what happens in relationships, that the woman is, you know, festering on some things and not always communicating. So all of a sudden, like when she decides it's over, that's it, it's over. Whereas the flip side, you know, with the guy, sometimes he's more, we'll talk about things. So it's not as a surprise, you know, as much when it happens, when the man instigates it. Often guys are very flawed when all of a sudden the relationship's over. It's like, well, what happened? Because there's not that communication, because it's held within.
Yep. Yeah. I always, you know, analogies, you keep blowing air into the balloon and blowing air in the balloon, blowing air in the balloon, and it's just going to pop at some point. And then you feel really bad, you know? Really bad.
And I think with boundaries as well, that, you know, when you have boundaries in place, it really does affect your self-esteem, you know, how you feel about yourself and everything, right? It's like I have like a self-esteem triad that I learned, that I share, you know, with people. And it's really around, you know, the emotions of, you know, so for example, it's a situation and the emotions and then the boundary. So if I say, okay, you know, when you come home and you don't talk to me, I feel isolated. Therefore, I'm no longer going to tolerate, you know, when you come home, that we don't make time for each other and have a coffee and a chat about our day. So that's me in a way of, it's communicating, you know, how I feel about the situation and then giving a solution as to what I would like to happen. So it opens up that dialogue in a calm way.
Yes. And the other thing that I would add on to that then is that, what are the consequences? And consequences aren't necessarily negative. What are the consequences when that doesn't happen?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And people need to be aware of that too.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, is have that, what are the consequences?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I have had people make some wild consequences and then they can't keep them, right?
Yeah.
So don't say you're going to do something as a consequence if you're not going to do it.
That's right. It has to be real. Yeah, we have to keep things real for sure. I agree with that. And it's even like I had you know, when my partner and I first got together, you know, I wanted to establish, I guess, ground rules or boundaries, you know, and I think it's a healthy thing to do. And I said, you know, what I would love us to do is, if we ever have an issue with each other and we're angry or upset, let's communicate that, what it is, and say, okay, when we're ready, let's make time to sit down and talk about it and really listen to each other, you know, rather than just coming in and blowing a fuse and it all gets blown out of proportion. And, you know, so it's learning to communicate the way that you want to communicate as well. I think, you know, is important, as well as the boundary itself.
It's what my friend and I call staying in the game, which means when something first happens, there may be a blow up or whatever, and you may need some time to settle, but we don't walk away.
Yeah.
We just, okay, it's staying in the game, and you keep at it until you reach some kind of resolution. That if one person is walking away, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like,
that's awesome.
And that's something that you can talk about ahead of time. And while it's not necessarily a formal boundary, right? You've already got the agreement in place. And that's more around the communication thing, I guess. But boundaries are all about communication.
Yeah.
If you don't, you know, communicate. And I actually had some clients have asked me before, well, do I tell the other person what the boundary is? And I go, yeah, because if you don't, they're not going to know if they've stepped across it or even what they're supposed to be honoring.
Yeah, that's right. They don't, because that's the thing, you know, if we can get frustrated that they're not doing, you know, what we want them to do, but if we haven't told them what that is, what our wants, needs and desires are, then really the fault is with us. You know, if we're not communicating, we can't hold them responsible. Exactly. We're responsible, you know, for everything like that in the communication.
And if we're not communicating, we're also not leaving room for what's the word that I want? Collaboration.
Yes.
Maybe, you know, like I'm thinking about, you know, your partner walking in the door and you not coming. Well, I used to walk into my office and I would have 3 people right on top of me. I go, okay, guys, wait a minute. I'm willing to listen to all of you and we'll solve all the issues, but give me 15 minutes. Let me have my cup of coffee. Let me go to my desk. Let me get it together. And, you know, then we can have full communication. And I had my manager say to me one day, but Pat, sometimes it's an emergency and I really do have to, you know, say something immediately when you get there. That leaves room for still great communication, but to have some exceptions and to talk about it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, love it. Yeah. So I guess, Pat, coming to this, the festive season, if one of the, you know, the viewers is sitting back and thinking, yeah, this all sounds great, but I know that it comes and I always get, you know, pushed into, okay, I've got to go to mum's house for Christmas dinner and then dad's house, and I really want to just go out with my friends into this party. Those sorts of scenarios. What tips or tricks do you have in terms of how they can have those conversations that they're perhaps fearful of having?
Okay, remember I'm a bit of a renegade, okay? And so I do things maybe that isn't necessarily always socially acceptable. Here's what I mean by that. Someone's like, I have to go to my mom's for dinner. Well, first of all, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're human beings. And as soon as someone tells us we have to do something, the hair on the back of our neck goes up just a little bit. Yes. So as soon as we say that, there's just a little piece of us that might be going, oh, you know, that kind of thing. So keep in mind, you don't have to. And I can hear folks out there going, yeah, but I do, because this is going to happen if I don't, right? Whatever choice you make, I tell people, is you're also choosing the consequences. Okay? The other thing that there's a bunch of things that I will go through people is talk about things ahead of time. Like, okay, Mom, we're going to come to dinner, and I know dinner's at 1 o'clock. We will be leaving by 3:30 though, because we need to go to my spouse's home for dinner as well. Yeah. Okay, so that they know what to expect and don't feel, you know, walked out on. One of the biggest things I tell people is to leave the past in the past. Here's what I mean by that. Well, last Thanksgiving you said, or that kind of thing. That's done, that's over with, leave it there. Because if you bring that into this one with you, okay, it's going to be the same thing. It's like exactly, it's an invitation for the same thing to happen again. Yes. Isn't it? You're already putting it out there. Yeah. Exactly. You know, you were talking about communication before. I think that's the key, is to communicate ahead of time. Okay, I'll be leaving at this time. What can I bring? You don't want me to bring anything that, it's all about talking it out ahead of time. Yeah. And people get to make choices. And they don't always realize that, or they don't always take advantage of that. If there's someone there that you really don't get along with and don't want to be in the presence of, you don't have to be. Yeah. Like I said. Yeah, I think that's important. Don't like me saying that. Well, of course you go to your family on Thanksgiving. No, you don't have to. Yeah, it's a choice. I'm sorry, I interrupted you there. Please go ahead with what you were saying. Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, for me as well on this journey personally, I realized that, you know, a lot of my friends and family who I love dearly, but I realized there's a lot of negativity. And so I try and meet them where they are, but I have to limit the amount of time that I spend in that environment. Yes. You know, so yes, I will go to the party, or I will, you know, go to the invitation, but I'll perhaps stay half an hour or an hour. And I don't, before I would make all sorts of bullshit excuses up and things. Oh, I've got to go, I've got to do this, you know, all the other things. And I say, no, I'm just leaving now. Because we don't have to, what I call JED, we don't have to JED, which is justify, explain, or defend. Another one I'm speaking. You're going to steal that one, that's steal away. So I call it JEDing, JED.
And, you know, it's not our responsibility or our obligation to justify, to explain, or to defend anything to anyone.
I love that.
You know, we
Because
are
I
our
use
own
those words a lot, but I
sovereign
like
being.
it.
Yeah. And I think that when I keep that in the back of my mind, it gives me the courage, you know, for want of a better word, or that, you know, to actually to say, well, that's okay. I've had a lovely time. It was lovely seeing you. I'm off now, you know, and thanks very much for your
And you're
hospitality. And I
standing
go,
in your power.
yeah, yeah,
You're standing in your power, for
mm,
sure.
yeah,
One of the other things is, you know, I like your Jed, so I'm going to give you a jobbers. Okay.
jobbers. Okay, I like
Jobbers,
that.
okay. And what I tell is, you know, for drop your jobbers and life is a breeze. So when you're at this, especially family parties, drop
Yeah.
all judgments,
Yeah,
opinions,
yeah,
beliefs,
yeah,
expectations,
yeah.
and rules.
Beautiful. Love
Just
it.
let people be who they are.
Yes.
And that one thing alone will turn your life around, especially around boundaries and the holidays.
Yeah. And I think as well, you know, when you're on a self-improvement journey, a self-development journey, wherever that journey takes you, whether you're doing some coaching, you know, yourself, you want to learn about coaching, all the different beautiful modalities that are out there. Sometimes, you know, at the beginning, we want to fix the world, right? And we want to fix everybody. And, you know, I think we can, we do the learning, and we you know, we practice with, you know, friends and other coaches that are studying at the same time. And we can see things, right? It's like the glasses, the blinkers come off. Oh,
Yes.
wow, there's a hang up there. There's a belief that's not there. There's a very limiting thing here. And it's so easy to want to dig in and coach them, you know, and trying to help them and share their image, you know, but you really have to, well, for me, I believe, you know, I just be me, you know, my wholehearted self, and spend the time that I can. And I think more people have come and talked to me about things because I've done that, and I help them that way rather than trying to force things on them.
Yes.
When they see you in a different light and happy and vibrant, then it's like we talked about last time. It's that magnetism.
Right. Right. And I always wait to be asked. Here's the other thing I'll say though, because I've had, I'll never forget this lady. She invited me to, I don't know, some kind of a party that I was going to go to at her house. And she says, now you're not going to sit there and analyze everybody, are you? And I just bested it. And I just looked at her and I said, honey, I get paid to do that. I'm not going to come to your party and do it for free, which was kind of a flip answer. All right.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I understand that they needed the reassurance that I wasn't going to do that, because there are a lot of people that do. And there's the boundary thing. Kudos to her for doing how she knew to set up a boundary.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. She was courageous enough to ask the question and to just get out whatever was bothering her. So that's exactly right. And even if, you know, I guess even if we can start doing that, you know, so that anybody that's watching that wants to start, if there's something that's really niggling at you, just ask that question or clear that thing out. And it's a good place to start, perhaps.
Yes. And like with you, you would be a safe person. I would be to ask the question, because I'm not going to get all huffy about it, right?
Yeah.
And just be prepared that there may be some people that may not take it so well. Why would you ask me that, right?
Yes, that's right.
And that's okay. You still got a great question. You still deserve an answer, because I'm just curious. I'm just asking.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But I love the idea of, that's a really good way to just start to ask. Is this going to be happening? I like that.
Yeah, that's good. I love the jobbers. That, yeah, I'll definitely be adding a few more bits into my JED. That's really good. I think that's why I love these conversations, you know, because it's maybe similar things that we know, but it's leaving our own, you know, views when we chat, and we come across different ways of expressing things and you know, communicating. So that's beautiful.
And here's the thing I love about this, Fiona, is that I think both of us are open to somebody having a different point of view. If
Absolutely.
someone were to say to me,
Yes.
Pat, I just firmly believe that everyone should go to their mom's house for Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner, whatever it is, I'm going to say, okay, then let's work within your belief system to give you some better ideas how to handle it.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. We don't have to agree on everything, and we can still work together to make our lives easier.
I agree, and that's very true, because often when we first start working with people, that's where they are. You know, it's a closed belief system. Their map of the world, if you like, is this shape, you know, and I guess our intention is to expand that map of the world, you know, so they can see things differently and see things, you know, through their own true eyes, you know, rather than the rose-colored glasses of their upbringing and their family, really. Yeah.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Mm.
I'm thinking, you know, some more around holidays. I think those are kind of general things, and you can get down to nitty gritty and specific, but I think that's kind of the general idea.
I think so. And even I remember when I first started doing this as well, because I used to always, first thing in the morning before I even got out of bed, pick up my phone, look at my emails, and then whatever emails were in there would just rule my day. You know, so now I have a clear boundary in place, that I have my morning ritual, my morning routine, you know, where I do things for me and I have a walk and, you know, read something, and nothing gets in the way of that. You know, that's my sacred time. So that's the boundary.
You just brought, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. You just brought up that whole aspect of having boundaries for ourselves.
Yes. I think it's really, really important.
Your morning ritual, how long do you have for yourself? Do you give yourself in the morning?
I normally take at least an hour. Sometimes it's longer, depending on, you know, what I choose to do or how I feel. But I tend to go out, get up first thing, get out of bed, go out with my dog, you know, around the yard, have a walk, throw the ball. So at least I'm moving my body and, you know, and doing that. Then I have a sauna. So sometimes I switch the sauna on and have a sauna, and I just do a meditation in there. And then afterwards come out and just journal or pick up a book and read a couple of chapters of a book. So that normally takes me around about an hour. And then a nice breakfast, you know, a healthy, a nice cup of tea and something. And
it changes your whole day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a setup for the day. Yes.
And even the evening routine is the same. You know, I have a, you know, I mean, my time of going to bed varies. I'm working on stabilizing that, really. But I always close the day, you know, by just having a nice shower where I put some essential oils, you know, like some peppermint and eucalyptus, so I get the aroma, and I find that it clears any negativity or things that I've picked up during the day. And I get into bed, and I always just have 3 things that I'm grateful for and thankful for the day. And then, you know, and just think about, okay, what is it I'd like to do tomorrow? 3 things, and that's it. Yeah, so something simple. You know, it doesn't take that long to do, but yeah, it's my time, and I'm very protective of it.
And I love that you've got those kind of boundaries. I will have some of my ladies say to me, what about boundaries for myself? How do I make myself do it? And it's not really a matter of making yourself, it's a decision, and you start with one at a time.
That's right, it is. And then the other thing I do is that I have, it's pink, and I put it in my calendar, and there has to be 4 blocks of pink in the week for me. And it's just my time. And I can do whatever I want in that. So sometimes it's coffee with a friend. It might be a massage. Sometimes it's gardening. Sometimes I love to do craft, you know, so I'll do painting or pottery or different things like that. And or even just, you know, writing my book. And I'm flexible on when they are, but they've got to be in the diary. And sometimes they get moved, and I'm okay with that. I have that sort of 80-20 rule around it. It's not rigid, but they have to happen.
I love that. When I first started doing stuff like that for myself many years ago, right? We had the written diaries, not online. And I was so bad at first, Fiona, in setting my own boundaries, that no matter what I wrote it with, I would find a way to write on top of it, or I would write it
Rub it
out,
out.
or I finally got, I shouldn't even be telling on this on myself, but I always couldn't find time for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I would always overwrite it. And I know there's people out there that do the same thing. So
we've all been there. Yeah, all been there.
I'll give you what finally got it so that space would be reserved come hell or high water, right? Was I went to the hardware store and I got air conditioning duct tape. And it's tape that they use on the big pipes and that, or the big, and you cannot write on it.
Right.
You cannot write. So I would cut pieces of that and block it out on my, that's pretty pathetic, isn't it? But it's what
it worked.
To do. Yeah. Yes, and I did that for I think 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Before I could really learn to respect time.
That habit.
Yeah.
And I think once we establish that, and we have that routine, then I tend to I stack things now, so like I said before, I would be in the sauna, so I'm getting that nice heat into the body to help my joints and my aches and pains as we get older. But I put a meditation CD on, so then I'm sitting there and I'm drinking my water. So I'm hydrating, I'm saunaing, and I'm also meditating. So that's 3 things in the same time slot, so you can habit stack and build things on top of each other once you have some routines established.
And the big thing that I really want to be clear for our listeners is you've got this into such a routine and it is just so automatic for you, but you didn't start this way.
Oh my gosh, no.
We start with one thing, people.
Yeah.
And really have that solid before you put something on top of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't emphasize, because I'm listening to this and I can imagine this were me if a number of years
overwhelmed.
I'm going to go in and I'm going to do this and this and this and this and blow it up.
Yeah, it's true, because I think a lot of, especially the mompreneurs and things that I work with, I don't have time, I just don't have time for self-care. So I recommend, say, well, how about just when you have a shower, put a couple of drops of essential oil in the bottom. You're still having a shower. You've got to have a shower, right? You've got to get washed. And just, love yourself, be grateful for even just for your body. Like, I love my arms, I love my legs, I love my belly. It's birthed my children. It might not be as flat as it was, years ago, but it's part of me, and be thankful for it. So even small things, like you say, starting with one small thing like that.
Yes.
And if you take 2 or 3 more minutes in the shower, that's fine. Just give yourself that time for some self-love.
And then when you do it, celebrate that you've done it, especially when you're beginning to have these boundaries in place, is to celebrate that you honored your boundary. And I don't care if it's a woohoo or a kiss, but celebrate that you've honored your boundary.
Yeah. That's
because
right.
that's what reinforces it. And it's also kind of fun to get a little goofy about it.
It is, yeah. I used to write messages on the mirrors, on the shower screens, in those chalk pens, and I love you, and I just look in the mirror, and it's there when you brush your teeth or wash your face, and it brings a smile, and it's reminding you that you're important too, to nurture yourself. Yeah.
And what we're talking about now is all this nucleus stuff. I love this.
It is. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
It's like this self-care. I think I've said this to you before, is, oh, I gotta have a massage. Oh, I gotta. Now, when you're in your nucleus, it's just ongoing self-care. And this is exactly what you're describing here. It's just what you do. You would no more think of not doing that in the morning than you would have, you know.
It's just part of life now. It's part of life.
Exactly.
And I think I used to beat myself a lot, up a lot around exercise, because I used to think, oh, I don't exercise, I don't do anything, and blah, blah, blah. And it just so happened about 2 or 3 years ago, a friend of mine says, what are you talking about, Fiona? I said, what do you mean? You're always in the garden doing things. So for me, I had exercise labeled as going to the gym. Right, driving to the gym, going on a treadmill, going on an exercise machine or whatever it was. But actually, So I reframed what exercise meant for me, you know, and how it works for me and my body and my lifestyle. So it's a nice walk with the dog, if it's doing some gardening, you know, I'm wheelbarrowing stones at the moment into a succulent bed that I'm creating. So that's exercise. It's like weightlifting, all sorts, but I'm out in nature, you know, and I think, so sometimes it's as well, you know, looking, if you're struggling to do something, it's like, you know, reach out to us, ask a question, you know, tag Pat or I as well around, you know, why am I struggling to create this? Because it may be that we just could have a quick conversation with you to help you reframe what it is you're seeing and what meaning you're making. Because we're merely making machines, aren't we?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's, you know, we attach meanings to things that aren't there.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good.
I know. So
I
think also, so you mentioned you have a beautiful ebook to give away for us. Yeah.
Yes, it's called Hold It Right There. You are going to love this because there's worksheets in there.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
after each chapter, there's exercises to reinforce what you've learned. Okay,
Beautiful.
and it's a very basic, and if you're just beginning, you'll love it because it gives you. The other thing that we're going to give, Fiona, is a Boundary Scorecard, which means,
fantastic. Yeah,
you get to evaluate, and I don't hate the word evaluate, just where do I stand in really setting and honoring my boundaries? So it's not about numbers or any of that. It's about you looking inside and going, oh yeah, this is an area I need to get a little bit better at. This area I'm doing great. So we're going to do both of those things this time.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very generous. And I think, like, I love the scorecards. I love the one last week as well. So if you haven't seen that, guys, it's over in the other. We can tag it. I'll get Jai to do that for me, to tag the post, because that, I think, is just a great reminder of things. Just even the questions, you know, sometimes you look at them and you think, oh, I haven't thought about it like that before. And bringing awareness as to where we are in this moment. And it's not, I agree, it's not a label. You know, it's not, oh, I've only got a 3 out of 10, I'm useless. It's nothing like that at all. It's just that self-awareness of where, you know, where we are. And okay, I'd like to work on that, you know, so we can pick an area then. And like you say, one small thing. Just one small
and
thing.
I would say when you first start using that scorecard, do it once a week. And then
celebrate.
You're gonna compare to yourself, right? And go, oh, look at what I did this week. You know, I've done some, or okay, I slipped a little bit here. Let me up the ante again. And again, don't try and do all 20 things on there at once. Just be aware that that's part of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Pat, for joining me. I think it's been a great conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to finish with or leave a comment with for the viewers?
Enjoy your holidays. Enjoy your holidays, communicate, and just love yourself. That's where we're at right now. Thank you, Fiona. I love talking with you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm really so thank you so much for being here. I say my first international guest, and you're welcome back anytime. I'm sure we'll have lots of fun conversations as we move forward, talking about things. And guys, if you'd like us to talk about different topics, please post up in the group. Let us know what you want to know more of, and we can come back and talk about things as well. So next week in episode 5, we have the beautiful Jenny Albrecht joining me. She's from Melbourne, which is the east coast of Australia. And she's focusing on, she's talking about a focus on love through the eyes of numerology. So I'm really excited to have her on board as well, and see, you know, how we can move love and self-love, you know, like through numerology. Because I don't know if you're anything like me, I'm always seeing, you know, the 111 and the 222 and the 333, all of the numbers. So I think it'll be great to find out a little bit more about, you know, what they mean and what the messages are. Yeah,
I'm going to make a note of that so I can listen next week.
Absolutely, yeah, or we can send you a link as well if it's late for you as well. Yeah,
that would be great. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Pat, and thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And again, #replay if you're watching the replay. It's been a pleasure. And remember, be your own best friend. Do whatever it takes. You know, have self-love for yourself and set those boundaries. You deserve them.
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.